Hi there, welcome back to Ade and Lisa Do Disney. We thought we needed a chat.
Yeah, I think we've just sat down and thought we'd just record this. We want to really address the elephant in the room, or should we say the genie in the room. As probably many people have seen about the changes that are coming to FastPass Plus with the introduction of Genie and Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. Now, just to start off, this video is not talking about how it all works and what we've looked into, so please, just as a bit of a disclaimer, this is just a chat. It's our thoughts.
We're not experts.
It's just our initial opinions of it, so this isn't actually us saying how it's going to work or how we think it's going to work.
This is us chatting with friends, which are you.
Yeah.
So leave your comments below. We'll all talk about it together.
Yeah, because I've seen quite a lot of comments from people about their thoughts on this, and it's just really what our thoughts are, having been to Disney over maybe the last 15 plus years. And
also having experienced the Max passes in California.
Yeah.
Which is very similar to the Genie Plus.
Exactly, yeah. So, so there may be some bits you can pick out of it that we may say, but also it's just to sort of look how we've experienced fast passes. I mean, I think one of our first trips, we didn't really know fast passes as they were. That was the old paper copy, which I think, does Paris still use? Or I would say not now.
We were using them in California. In
California they had paper ones, but it was that we would struggle to get fast passes our first few trips because...
For the decent rides. For
the decent rides, because they would all go at more or less rote drop, because people would grab them, and I remember times going in, and we would be in the morning, and there'll be none for...
Like Test Track. We didn't ride Test Track until the FastPass system came in with magic bands. Yeah. Because we pre-booked it.
Couldn't do that. So now, then FastPasses changed, didn't they? Where you then could go and book them online.
Your 60 days
or
60
days or 30 days.
Yeah.
Now, we've had many a time where we've had the alarm set ready to book our fast passes, and to be honest,
it's stressful, really stressful. We've been sat in Alton Towers, the family have all gone off on rides,
and it's our 12 o'clock toll, whatever it was, to book our fast passes,
and it's glitching out. You know, I'm sure loads of you have experienced that. We're both there trying to get our fast passes, everything written down, and the system crashes. It's just going really slow. I think that time it took us about an hour and a half. Our families had done 2 roller coasters in that time.
Yeah, and that's UK queue times as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. And there's no fast. Well, there are fast passes there.
But we didn't use them in Alton Towers, no.
But it's. I sort of remember doing that, and every trip it's almost like we dread that fast pass time because we have it written down. Each of us deal with maybe a day. And you can do the 3, and we have it planned. Now, we are people that plan.
We are planners.
And we're on top of it. So I dread to think what it's like, or what it was like for people that weren't maybe planners. So we would know what park we'd be in. Now, for example, our brother-in-law, when he used to go with his family, now fair enough, okay, fast passes weren't really a thing. They may not even know where they're going that day.
And they're coming to Disney with us next year. He still wants to go like that. He does not like planning.
Yeah.
He wants to just wake up in the morning and think, right, where am I going today?
Yeah.
So the FastPass system, as it wasn't for him.
No. And I'd say also for us, it's great. Well, I say great. Once we got over that sort of stressful part, we knew we had those fast passes. But what I would say, and I think there's a good word that was used on, I think, the Disney Parks vlog. I don't know which cast member it was who was doing the talking, but he said with the new Genie, or Genie and Genie Plus, it's hoping to stop people feeling locked in. Now, I thought that was a brilliant way to think of it, because with the fast passes, we planned them, and we felt like, right, we've got this one at this time, this one at this time, this one at this time. And then it was a case of that really dictated our day,
well, we've had it timing before where, like, we've managed to get a flight of passage that's come up. And I remember it was one day we were arriving in Wilderness Lodge. We'd booked 2 nights club level, and I managed to get a fast pass for Flight of Passage at like 4 o'clock that afternoon. We didn't want to actually go into the parks. I just happened to see it, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm always checking the apps just to see what's coming up. And it was like, we grabbed it. And
of course, we don't have to use it.
No, but you feel you want to, but that kind of then dictates your whole day.
Yes, I think the word that they used, feeling locked in,
Does
I think
that make sense to you?
So for people that have been before who've booked their fast passes, I don't know if that kind of sounds familiar. Now, of course, I think one thing we do need to kind of address is in regards to what's coming is Genie. Now, if we talk about the Genie, from what I've looked at it, it looks like hopefully a bit of a planning tool. Now, I don't know what it's like around the other parts of the world, but you've used it,
I use touring plans.
Touring plans.
I do pay for that. You can get part of it free. I've used it, I think, since 2010 for every trip, and it's something like $10, $11, $12 a year, something like that. But you can go ahead and it predicts how busy the parks are going to be. And so that way I always plan my days around using this website, and it will even give you an itinerary. So you put in which parks you would like to go, and I've done it for Universal Parks before,
and it's
when we
worked
haven't
really
had
well.
passes yet.
And you see when busy days are, and we try to avoid them, and it seems to be pretty
It's
spot
really
on,
accurate.
doesn't it?
And the other thing they do, this touring plans, they have an app, and I've used it in the parks, and they actually have people dotted around the parks, and you can use it yourself, and it tells you how busy the rides are, how the current wait times are, and that's actually worked more what's the word? Efficiently than the actual Disney app. And I get the feeling that this Genie could be quite similar to that.
Yeah, and I kind of seen the Genie.
This is the free version, by the way.
This is the Genie. This is almost like your assistant. Now, for people that may have been to Disney quite a few times, you generally kind of have an idea of what's what. But I feel for maybe first timers, for example, you say we've got a family trip, you've got your mum going who's never been before.
No.
So by putting in things like what you like, so it could be you like Disney classics, you like a particular type of ride, like roller coasters or kiddie rides or whatever.
You can then select.
So I kind of like that. Obviously, we've not used it. No one's used it. But I like the idea. But it does seem to be very similar to, touring plans.
The other thing I liked looking at it as well was that you can actually, there's a search bar. So if you're looking for something in particular, you can type that in. And the other thing is, if you want more information on a ride or something, you can click on that as well for more details, which I really like. I think it could be a handy tool.
Yes, I think a handy tool, being in the park, I think everything is kind of going, should we say, app based. I think if it's accurate and it can hopefully improve your day in regards to queue times, there's nothing worse than going to a particular part of the park and then seeing that there's a queue for 2 hours. Yes, you can see things around the park, but if there's something that can help you plan and say, well, actual fact, if you go this time, that's going to be better. That actually brings me on to something else as well. Before we talk about the likes of Genie Plus, is what we've done in the past. Yes, we've used FastPass Plus, and it's been brilliant, apart from the stressful part of booking. But there are also other factors that you can still get on some rides, some little tips, and maybe we'll do a video about this separately. But for example,
that's a good point.
we love the parades, but if you've done a parade and then you feel, well, actual fact, I've seen that, and you're there another day, say Magic Kingdom or whatever, we've done it before when that's been on, and that's when we've gone on the rides. We've done Space Mountain.
Or even the evening fireworks shows.
Yeah, or the fireworks shows, or even at, think of the amount of times at Animal Kingdom, we've gone on to Everest.
Time and time again.
When the Rivers of Light, or Reflection, Rivers of Light? I can't remember the name of what it was called. But we went on time and time again. The queue times were just pretty much non-existent. So remember that when you're going. There are times you can actually get on rides without having to have fast passes. So which then brings us to think on to Genie Plus. Now,
I was going to say, obviously,
you're going to talk about Max Pass.
No, I want to. We haven't spoken about cost.
That's the thing that bothers me.
I know, that is the big. We feel so lucky that we've been able to take advantage of FastPass Plus whilst we've been a family of 4, because let's face it, that is a big expense. And we did use the Max Pass in California. At the time, it had just jumped from $10 to $15. We were going
per day, per ticketed guest.
Sorry, per day, per ticketed guest.
Yes.
We had a pass for 5 days while we were in California. Yep. To cut back the cost, we decided to use it for 3 days. We didn't use it for every day.
No, that's right.
We loved it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what I did want to say, I do feel that with Walt Disney World, it's such a different
It's a different park.
It's a different world, isn't it? So, like, again, going back to my family next year, for all of them, to have to pay for that every single day, that's huge amounts of money. And you think, like, families with kids, larger families.
Yeah. Can I just relate, for example, California? I see California, Disneyland, with Disney California Adventure and Disneyland being a little bit similar because there's the two parks as go into Universal and Islands of Adventure. Yeah. You've got the two parks
side by side.
Side by side. So imagine if you've done Universal and Islands of Adventure. That's kind of, should we say, similar. You could get those parks done in a day.
Or 2 days.
Or 2 days.
Say 2 days, yeah.
So, for example, I know Universal, and this is something else as well, Universal has been doing their express passes for years.
We've all paid. We've all moaned at Disney because they bought in parking at resorts and now paying for express fast passes. Universal have done it for years, and we've all liked it and lumped it, haven't we?
And also the other thing with Universal is, and this is why we've stayed at Universal, or when we first started staying at Universal, was because staying at the luxury resort, I don't know if they call them luxury, do they call them luxury,
deluxe.
premium,
I don't
deluxe?
know, actually. I can't
but
remember.
Staying at the likes of Hard Rock or Royal Pacific
and Portofino.
You get your express passes. So we've actually known of or heard in the early days people would book a night and not even necessarily stay because families. It was cheaper to do that, to get the express pass for those 2 days. You stay one night, you get an express pass for 2 days.
Yeah.
So we kind of specifically stay at those hotels, so we get that. So I guess you could say it's a perk.
But then you're not going to get that perk with Disney.
No, you're
Even
not.
if you're staying in a deluxe resort. Apart from being able to book your fast passes or your lightning lanes early, you don't really have.
Yeah,
and I do feel that's always made Disney feel special because they offer this freebie.
Yeah,
it's made them stand out.
Yeah, do you know, just looking at it from, I say, our point of view and the way we enjoy parks, I like the idea of it because you're not tied to making the Genie Plus. I like the idea. I'm not talking about the cost. I'm just here talking about the actual product itself. I like it. Having using the Max Pass. On one of our videos, and maybe we'll link it below, when we were in California, actually. It was great because you can, just to make it clear as well, if it's going to work the same way as California, we would go into the park, we would see, right, what's available? Oh, we can do Mission Breakout. Oh, that's at 10:30. It might be, say, 9:30. We can do it at 10:30. We have an hour slot to do it. It would then tell us when we can book our next one. So it might say at 11:09, you can book your next Max Pass.
The other thing, actually, we were watching someone's video and they made the comment about being able to book 90 minutes later. We didn't find that at all, and in fact sometimes it was like half an hour between the bookings, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's not 90 minutes after you've been on the ride.
No.
So for example, they say do one at a time. The way it worked in California was the fact that yes, you could book it, but when you booked, it gave you the time when you could do your next one, and that sometimes was
half an hour later.
But half an hour after the time there, so it wasn't 90 minutes after we'd been on the ride.
No.
But that worked really well.
We did literally one after another, didn't we? We got them in really well.
Yeah, and I think there's many maybe different points, discussions, and you could probably talk all day about it. But I do feel the cost is.
I think if you're a couple, you can cope with it.
And you're there for a few days.
Yeah, and the other thing I wouldn't do, if I was there for 2 weeks, I would definitely not have one each day.
No.
I would kind of I would plan the way I still do. The other thing is as well, you can park hop with them. If you've got a park hopper.
Look, we saw that on the one of, was it alleears.net or alleears.com.
They said that you can park hop because that was a question of mine.
Yeah.
We definitely wouldn't do it every day. And like if we were going in for the evening, for example, or just the morning, I definitely wouldn't do it. I would just do what I can.
Now, one thing I'd quite like to maybe see Disney do is the fact everyone knows that every year ticket prices go up. That's not just Disney, that will be across the board. Now, no one is forcing anyone to buy Genie Plus. It's not something you have to do. And as we said earlier, there are times and tips and tricks on trying to find a good time to get on rides. We actually have probably done rides before we've had a fast pass, noticed there's no queue time, and gone on there.
Yeah, before.
There are times, it isn't always manic.
We are early risers.
Sometimes it can be luck, but that does happen. So there are times we've gone in and maybe not had fast passes, or we've actually not used them, cancelled them,
that's true.
and we've just done normal walk-ons. So don't forget that still is the case. But what I'd like to see Disney do, or would be nice, is the fact of don't raise the ticket price.
They will.
They will, but maybe, okay, if they said, for example, that if they worked out some kind of, I hate using the word algorithm, but if they worked out some kind of formula, okay, we're going to predict that everyone is maybe going to buy 3 Genie Plus passes, and then work out something that they can still, because obviously they are a business, they do need to make money, I get that, but there comes a point where it turns into what some people and customers may look like it being Disney being greedy. Now, I'm not saying it is. I don't see their finances. I don't see about what's what and what they need to make and how much it costs to run the park. I've also seen other people talk about, well, look how much money Disney Plus is making. You got to remember, though, they're probably different companies. We're not getting into that discussion now about how much money this and this, but I'd like to see them being a little bit considerate and maybe not increase the price or even lower ticket prices.
That won't happen.
I know it won't happen.
Or even put a hold on raising prices for parking.
But you've then
something like that.
But then you are making that choice to buy the Max Plus. It's the same, for example, going into the park. You don't have to buy food in the park.
No, but I do feel though you're going to want to do it, especially if it's your once in a lifetime trip. You're going to want to try.
I agree.
And the other thing as well that miffs me is this whole lightning lane thing, and again almost feeling pushed into needing to buy an extra pass for the really good rides. So like Flight of Passage, I
would imagine would be.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you on that one. And I
do feel, again, when you're a family, because that's obviously what they're bringing into Disneyland Paris, it's extortionate when you're paying so much money to go into the park. It almost feels like your friends let you down a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's for example, another thing to touch on, for example, is annual pass holders.
Oh,
now,
actually,
this is something. Sorry, we've jumped back a little bit. And as I said, this was just going to be we're chatting. So sorry, it's maybe jumping around a little bit. We haven't got any notes. We're just going off on what we're actually wanting to talk about. But annual pass holders with us, we are annual pass holders. We luckily, in some ways, haven't actually started our annual pass, so we've still got them, haven't activated it, but we can only book 7 days of reservations.
Fast passes. So like when we were supposed to be doing our family holiday with the kids, they've got regular passes, so we wouldn't be able to book fast passes with them. So we can do the first 7 days of our 3-week trip, but then after that, it would be 2 weeks now because they're 2-week passes, aren't they? After that, we wouldn't be able to book fast passes with the kids anyway.
And we'd have to do it rolling once we get there.
Yeah.
And then the likelihood of trying to get ones which the same ones they've got is going to be really probably impossible. Now, I know that's maybe an unusual situation because if you're going as a family, you'll generally either have all the same type of tickets.
But at the same time, I do feel when you're overseas and you have an annual pass, we aren't the same as the likes of the locals having annual passes that are there all the time. It just so happens that we might be going for 3.5 weeks or something, split over the year. So that always upset me a little bit that we couldn't book the fast passes in the same way.
So with the Genie Plus on that aspect, everyone I guess is kind of in the same situation on that one because you can only book them on the day you are going in, or from 7 o'clock in Walt Disney World, is it? In
California, it's once you're actually physically in the park.
Like that.
We liked that too.
Yeah.
For Walt Disney World, it is from the time the park opens. So say Magic Kingdom opens at 9, you can book them from 9. You don't have to actually physically be in the park. You can be in your resort.
Or wherever.
Yeah, wherever. But if you're staying on site, you can book them from 7 in the morning. So if the park doesn't open till 10, you can book them from 7. Which again, though, although it's a perk, you're going to have that, if you're up watching fireworks or something, or you're out late, you've got to set your alarm in the morning again for that perk.
Yeah.
It just goes back to that that rush thing again, doesn't it?
Almost that, not almost a panic kind of thing. The fact, oh, we've got to make sure we do this.
And then are you going to have the same situation like with FastPass Plus, where everything crashes and you're there and it's just spinning? And
or we know, like with people with Rise of Resistance, when that started, the virtual queues, because virtual queues will be staying.
So Rise of the Resistance, and they're also going to be doing the virtual queues for
in
the new...
the Remy.
Yeah, what do they call that one?
I can't remember.
The
Ratatouille
ride.
We call it that. Sorry, we should know, but I've forgotten.
I'm terrible with names.
But I think, I guess just as a summary, I mean, we've touched on our experience of fast passes from when we first went, of not getting them because everyone would get them at rope drop and not being able to get a fast pass.
We could for the semi-good rides.
So some of them, but we would never know, would we? No, so we would generally have to queue, or we would choose not to queue if the queue was too long.
Or you do that whole, you
Back
can't
and forth.
walk around a park because then you go on one ride, then you have to go back to the start again or something because you've got a fast pass for 2 hours later.
Yeah, and then we've had the fact of FastPass Plus, of the booking.
I did like that.
We would always try, and when we did book our FastPass Pluses, we would always try to organise it in some kind of order, and we'd also try and get them as close together as we could, so that because they've got an hour window, we'd try and maybe book one for say 9, 10 and 11.
Or do 10, 11, 12.
Or whatever.
9 o'clock you wouldn't need one in the morning.
No, okay, but but you could get on one at say 9:30, then pretty much after that you could go on the next one, and then pretty much after done that you could, in theory, almost get on the last ride. So it felt you weren't clock watching and felt you weren't actually just going here, there and everywhere. So we made that work, didn't we? And also the great thing, that was free. I think the biggest thing is the cost of this. As I say, I understand companies need to make money, but I just feel, I don't know, I don't quite feel it's the right move in regards to that. And also California now, they're charging $20. So I kind of...
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I just, that's the part of me. So I like the idea. I like the idea of Genie, which is free. I like Genie Plus, but it is just the cost. And I wish in some ways, do you know, if people realised that maybe cost of tickets were either frozen or parking was, or whatever, they made some other kind of incentive, you'd probably find people would feel maybe a bit happier of doing it because they feel it's not overall costing them any more.
Well, I just have to see what happens.
Yeah, interested to know what your thoughts are from what you've read, seen. I'm sure all of you have maybe watched some videos or other vlogs or anything.
I will link the video down below of when we used the Max Pass in California. We rewatched it yesterday and it's really good to see how it works. We set it up as we entered the park and you'll see us using it throughout the whole day. And
it was great because the kids could use it. So I could use it for all 4 of us, you could use it for all 4 of us, you could use it on your own, and so that it worked really well. It did work well, yeah. The only thing was you always needed your phone out. Yes, that's the other thing, sometimes you don't want your phone out all the time. Like going through, you would need to show your phone to do, like, in essence it was your fast pass. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, this is just my thoughts here, I wouldn't be surprised before long that will be on items like Apple Watches and things like that. Now it comes into the other question, what will happen with Magic Bands? I know, I love my Magic Bands. Because as we know, Magic Bands are no longer being given free. You can still buy them, but I wonder what will happen with Magic Bands. If you've got younger kids, don't worry, they don't need a phone. You can have all the passes on one phone. That's why I mentioned about the fact you can do all that. Yeah. Clear that up. But I think we've come to the end of our little chat today. Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed hanging out with us. Let us know your thoughts. Have you used the Max Pass in California as well? What did you think of it? Do you like the idea of the free Genie app? Do you think that's a good idea? And how do you feel about the extra cost? Do you feel the same as us? We'd love to hear your thoughts, but I hope you've enjoyed this chatty video today. We might do a few more of these. Yeah, if there's any particular topics people want us to discuss, it might be we also see if there's something that we see or hear about, like everyone else does in the Disney world, so to speak, that we will maybe just have a chat about it and get people's thoughts and what our thoughts are. So. But thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Yeah, thank you. Take care. Bye. Bye.